Okay. It's 7:30. We're going to begin the regular session. Good evening. This is the Cortez City Council. Turn the mic on. Cortez City Council regular meeting, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. This is a hybrid meeting again. City Council chambers and the rest of the council are meeting on Zoom. We call this meeting to order and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. You all stand, face the flag, and we repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. First item is the consent agenda. Listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. The mayor will ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have a specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Either the public or a council member may request an item be removed from the consent agenda at that time prior to council's vote. First item is approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of August 25th, 2020. Next one is approval of the expenditures voucher for September 8th, 2020. C, approval of renewal fermented malt beverage liquor license for Dillon Companies LLC, DBA City Market Number 8, located at 508 East Main Street in Cortez. Next item is approval of renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Lounge and Lizard Incorporated, DBA Lounge and Lizard, located at 24 West Main Street, Cortez. Item E, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Taste of India, DBA Taste of India, located at 1013 East Main Street in Cortez. And F, approval of renewal brew pub liquor license for Wild Edge Brewing Collective, LLC, DBA Wild Edge Brewing Collective, located at 111 North Market Street in Cortez. Okay, do I hear a motion on this consent agenda?
I have a question about the expenditures. Is it okay if we just take that off for a moment? It's pretty brief, but do we need to take it off and then address it later? Okay, so we'll approve the I make a motion to approve the expenditures minus the I make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the expenditures, so I can ask that quick question.
For a second?
Second.
Council?
Medina,
Yes.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Huckins,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Lady.
Aye. Okay, there are no presentations. Okay, yeah, Arlena.
Okay, I can ask a
Yes,
question. Okay, so I'm sorry, I wasn't able to get this to you before this meeting, but regarding the outdoor pool, are any of those utilities able to be shut off? Because like I'm looking at the utilities right now, and we've still got like fiber and electricity and all that going right now, and we're not using the pool. So I guess I'm just curious, like if those need to be running while we're not using the outdoor pool, or if they're even able to be shut off while the outdoor pool is not operating.
I will continue to push that subject because there's not just the electrical that we're paying for that. It hasn't been operating all summer. Why are we paying for garbage pickup and things like that?
Yeah, I don't think that we should be paying utilities on some of the facility we're not using. I think it'd be cheaper for us to just reinstate those utilities when we open back up.
Noted.
Thank you.
I have a question then about the expenditures. Is Vern still here?
Vern?
I think he's out.
Jeez.
Okay. I was just curious, maybe Ben can answer then, just with this Lexapool LLC, like policy update expenses. Okay. I'll let it go for now.
Okay,
Need a motion for the approval of the expenditure vouchers?
okay. Motion for approval of the vouchers.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the expenditure vouchers.
Second.
Huckins,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Lady.
Aye. Okay, thank you. There are no presentations tonight. Next item is citizen participation. Comments may be limited to 4 minutes. We have a timekeeper with us per person. Please comment on items not listed as public hearing. Council may or may not respond to comments. Okay, if you go up to the podium, make sure the microphone is turned on and state your name and the address and state your business. Are there any citizens wishing to participate?
My name is Cynthia Robeson. I live at 25567 Ken Road 2.5 in Dolores. I ride with the Patriots every Saturday. My dad drives a big army truck. It's a new pride. We go by the Black Lives Matter when they're protesting on Main Street. Every one of them waved at us Saturday that were on Main Street. They all were nice, but we didn't have our flags up. When we put our flags up, that's when people started getting disrespectful. And that's all I can say.
Thank you. State your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Travis Simmel, 41336 Road H. I yield my time to Tiffany here.
My name is Tiffany here. I live at 1752 Brook Street. A little reluctant to give out my address, but you asked me to, so I will. In Cortez, Colorado. Would the council be willing to allow me an opportunity to ask them some questions?
Any objections? Yes, go ahead.
I would like any council member who feels that they know what the Patriots stand for to please give me your opinion of what the Patriots stand for.
This is my understanding just from the random posts that I've seen on Facebook, which I'm often not on. I'm trying not to be on. It's my understanding that the Patriots stand for patriotism, first of all, on honoring your rights, respecting your rights, and you also do have like an additional focus on blue lives.
Absolutely. We back our blue on our front line 100%. I can tell you right now, if there was a law enforcement officer in trouble on the side of the road, any one of us would stop and defend that officer at all costs.
Tiffany, can I ask you to describe the flag that's being flown that is President Trump on top of a tank with, I believe it's a grenade in his mouth? Can you speak towards that?
I can't say that I've seen that flag. So I guess I can't describe something I haven't seen.
I can comment on that flag.
I see a lot of wonderful flags. I don't pay attention to everyone. I just know they're amazing.
This is Cynthia Robeson again. My father does have a flag.
Speak right up to the microphone so you can hear you.
With President Trump behind, or
front of a tank, but he does not have a grenade in his mouth. I don't know what you're talking about on that part.
And what does that represent to you?
He's there for our freedom. My dad is a vet also, and that, yeah, so I don't know. That's what it stands for to me.
Thank you for your time.
I understand you support the first responders too. I think that's commendable. Would you like to speak some more about that? How you respond to how you support the first responders, what you do besides the ride?
Absolutely. So I know during the closure, we provided meals for them at no cost. I set up a front line, feed the front line. We were a restaurant, so we had a lot of food on the shelf, and it kind of started from there. We allowed people the opportunity to have a movement to be able to support the front line. The EMTs, our dispatchers, our law enforcement. We did several campaigns, burgers for badges. When the cafeteria had to close at the hospital, I was taking meals down at night to the ER people, really bringing attention to the sacrifices that those people were making and the greater cost that they were paying so that the rest of us could be safer at home.
May I have a time check? I'm not in chambers, so I can't see if the 4 minutes is up.
30 seconds.
Does anybody have any questions that are attending the Zoom meeting that they would like to ask me?
Did you hear that question, Zoom members? Do you have a question for Tiffany Gear? David, unmute yourself. Okay, go ahead.
I have no question at this time.
Okay. Anyone else?
And I just want it to be made clear and known that my business has been slandered. I have been sought out, socially ridiculed and harassed, as well as the business, for standing for my country. In no way, shape, or form is this an innocent movement that we see on the opposition.
Thank you. Next person, please state your name and address and speak into the microphone so we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jennifer Gleason McDonald. My address is 23665 Road X Lewis. I devote my time to Tiffany Gear.
I have a question, and this is Rachel. I know this is a lofty question, but what do you think we can do then to kind of heal our country and the divide in it, and learn to respect each other again, and recognize that most things we probably agree on, and there's only 10% that we don't. You know, I think we all want what's best for this community and its community members. So how can we get back to that? And what can we do locally to be there for each other?
Well, I think it can start with not sidewalking the police station, telling them to quit their jobs, not chalking businesses on Main Street, getting rid of the term that no life matters until Black Lives Matter. That is in itself is extremely offensive. We as patriots, we've invited council members from the Ute Mountain Ute tribe to come and do an opening prayer with us. We have a large amount of natives that ride with us. We do have Black individuals, Hispanics, that type of thing. I think what a lot of people are offended by is that if you have to put a color in front of Lives Matter, that's incredibly offensive, and that's degrading to anything and anyone else. So a lot of that derogatory message, and I'm sorry, chalking up our police department, and when you have somebody that identifies themselves as Antifa sitting on our school board and our zoning and planning that's been allowed to stay there, that creates a seed, and that creates division within our community.
Tiffany, what would you say to just different times, different times, so there's no, crossing for these two different groups?
I may be a little bold and advantageous here, but I'm gonna say no. If
So
they have
you
a
would
right
not
to
be willing, so with you and the Freedom Riders would not be willing to go to 10:30 in the morning on Saturdays?
no, they have
So
a
no,
right
so
to
no
occupy.
compromise?
No, if they have a right to occupy the road and to have their voice be heard, we also have a right to have our voice be heard and our presence be known.
So
And it
just to be
doesn't
clear,
matter.
I would ask if the other side would be willing to go to 8:30. So it would be a both kind of a compromise. But you're speaking on behalf of the Freedom Riders and say no compromise.
I'm not gonna speak for the group as a whole, but I can tell you right now, our numbers are enormous, and there will be people who will make a point to be where they are, when they are, because that is their constitutional right. And I can honestly say it, if they're on the street, I have a right to be on the street. If their voice is being heard and their message is being heard, I have a right to make my voice, my message be heard, and my presence known. So adjusting times is gonna make no difference there to a vast majority of this group.
Thank you.
All right, I think I'm out of time. Anybody else?
Ray Goodall.
Mr. Mayor, there's hands raised on Zoom. It looks like Raleigh and Todd.
Okay, Ray, hold that. We'll come right after you, sir. Okay. We can't see the Zoom hands. Go ahead, Zoom hand. Please unmute your mic.
Can you call on either Raleigh or Todd?
Holly? Todd?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, my name is Raleigh Marmerstein.
Your address, please.
I'm sorry?
State your name and address, please.
My name is Raleigh Marmerstein. I live at 14175 Road 21 in Cortez. I am one of the co-organizers of the Walk for Justice and Peace, and I'd like to share some history with you all and some intentions. I am a community member who is interested in joining with marginalized groups, as I've mentioned before. I have attended Montezuma Pride. I attended the vigils in Durango. I enjoy very much to participate in groups of people who are either mourning together or celebrating together and standing in solidarity with each other. So because of my personal conviction to stand with marginalized groups, I saw the walk being hosted by St. Barnabas for Justice and Peace, which was originally organized by two women of St. Barnabas with the intention of bringing space to grieve and share stories after the murder of George Floyd. That first walk happened on June 13th. Every Saturday thereafter, I joined the walk, and as the march continued and COVID numbers began to rise, the church organization chose to take a back seat. And I, as an individual person, said to the group on, I believe, the 27th of June, but I wouldn't hold myself to that I would march as an individual. I would continue to gather at Barnabas if I was allowed to do so. Rector Doug gave his permission, of course, to let people gather in his safe space courtyard. So I encouraged others to join me as individuals because we took individual responsibility for our health and safety during the time of COVID. We have worn masks all summer. We aim to socially distance as we walk. And when people join us who don't wear masks, we ask them to bring one the next time, as it makes several group members uncomfortable. When I took over the walk as an organizer, I say an organizer because there are several of us. I personally send out emails, that's my role in the organization, but others of us meet, we talk about our intentions, and we talked specifically on the 4th of July about moving our parade, our walking parade, if you will, to Main Street from Montezuma. When we walked on Montezuma, we were heard chanting. We did make noise and made ourselves known as we walked with our signs. However, on the 4th of July, it was offered that we should perhaps walk in silence and in solidarity with people who may be grieving on such a joyous occasion that marks freedom for so many, but for so many more, it does not. So on the 4th of July, we took our silent walk down Main Street, where we saw many American flags and tourists driving through Maine, and it felt very amazing to be seen, quite frankly. It felt like the right place to be. We continued our walk on Main for that reason. It was July 11th, and no sooner, that we were met with extremely loud honking, coal rolling, engines blaring, and the official parade of Patriot riders. Since the 11th, every week since.
We do have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Every week since, we have continued to walk in silence. We walk in silence because it helps ground ourselves. We have encouraged others to hold open palm waves and not do anything but stand and hold signs. Our signs are varied, but we do not stand for any one cause. We walk for justice and peace in our community and in Southwest Colorado, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Ray, I'll give you your chance now. He's been waiting patiently, and you will speak next, ma'am.
I'll make this short.
Okay.
I want to ask the.
State your name and address, Ray.
Pardon me?
State your name and address for the record.
Raymond Goodall. I live at 405 North Henry Street, Cortez. I was born on the front porch of a ranch house out here in Rio in 35. Sergeant of Arms at the American Legion. I'm a member of the Korean War, retired. I was surprised to find that the council voted against us renting our parking lot to other veterans traveling through in motorhomes for $5 a night. What really astounded me was my son, when he told me that all those motorhomes dumped their tanks at the city research center out on the hill. His name's Scott Goodall. You'll all come to know him. But I'm still have a question. Why would you refuse veterans helping vets? Most of our homes moved in there, one night stand is $5. They can park any size motorhome they got, smallest to the largest. We have a lot of property there. And they're very clean. There's no disturbance there. I can't believe what the council did. And I'd like to have an answer before I meet with Larry Don and our commissioners. You're my first people. I want to talk to you. Do you have an answer why you would prevent us from doing that?
Because it's not allowed in the zoning code. And
I'd like a logical answer, please.
It's not allowed in the zoning code, and there is no waiver that can be brought to the council to do it.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'll know it before I'm through. I'm not a very big man, but neither was Patton.
Okay, state your name and address, sir.
My name is Fred Bird, 17974 Road Chief. Stand before you today for justice. I stand before you in full support of the police department. There's been a lot of talk about defunding the police. Part of the problem is misunderstanding what that term means. What most people really mean when they talk about defunding the police is shifting funds from policing to social welfare programs. According to the Deseret News, defunding the police would include changing the response to emergencies that involve substance abuse, domestic violence, homelessness, or mental health. In addition to a police officer responding to a call about a person experiencing homelessness, a social or healthcare worker could also be dispatched. Most of the police departments and law enforcement organizations across the country would agree that they need more funding, not less. They especially need funding to create a new culture of social and racial justice that provides security to the general public through the knowledge that all will be treated equitably, carefully, and justly, based on the premises that citizens are treated equally under the law. This can be done by reprioritizing or providing additional funding for community-based policing, taking into account the need for trained psychologists, or social services, or medical technicians to accompany law enforcement on many of their initial dispatches. This type of policing concept is not new. It has been successfully used in many parts of the country. Just ask New Orleans how their police department has changed for the better using community policing concepts after the Hurricane Katrina episode. Look into the leadership that the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, provides with their leadership in police organization, the LPO courses. The models were created at West Point based on behavioral science. They were modified by the IACP to use in police departments nationwide. Make a policy and provide funding so that our police chief, the assistant chief, captains, and lieutenants can attend the LPO training sponsored by the IACP. They will learn about the implicit bias and strategies to deal with it. We are lucky in Montezuma County because our Sheriff Steve Nolan and our Chief of Police here, Vernon, they are graduates of this course. They got that training provided through the state of Colorado Highway Patrol. Our city police departments need this training also.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, please.
Amanda Winter, 17657, Road 27.7 in Dolores, Colorado. So I just wanted to mention, I mean, it's obvious to me, but it might not be to other people. So when the railing got on, or when the lady from the opposition was up here talking, when they were talking about their groups, what were they talking about? Were they talking about everybody, or were they talking about certain groups? That's the difference than with the Patriot writers, is we don't say, oh, you have to be a minority, oh, you have to be this, you have to be that. Anybody that wants to come and show that they're proud of this country is more than welcome to join us. So, you know, where all the other groups, it's Black Lives or it's against cops, anybody that wants to come and show their patriotism is welcome in our group. And another thing, you talk about community or dialogue and what we can do to help that. I was actually going to meet with that railing lady that was up there talking. She talks about all this peace and sweetness and rainbows and unicorns. However, before I met her, because I like to see what I'm walking into, I told her we could meet over coffee so we could exchange, kind of talk about her stuff, my stuff, what each group comes from. And I'm very patriotic, so I get really, I'm trying to stay on script because I get really, my husband's deployed right now. So I'm very patriotic. And I went onto her Facebook, which was open, to see what I was going to be walking into. And I saw one of her posts was talking about how we're racist because we were born white. I will tell you, I'm a nurse as well. I've taken care of, I lived in Denver, I'm from here, but I am not racist. I was not born racist. I take care of all kinds of people that are sick. It doesn't matter what color you are. And the only reason race is such an issue right now is because people want it to be an issue. And I went onto her Facebook. It also talked about it trashed Trump supporters. I'm a very big Trump supporter. And Amy wants to ask about the flag with Trump running a tank. Sorry, a little irritated right now. So, but do you know what that symbolizes to me? That symbolizes that we're not going to stand down anymore. We're not going to allow we're not going to allow people to just wall us and keep us silent. We're the majority and we're not going to be silent anymore. And that's what it means to me. And I thank God every day that we have a president that's willing to have a backbone, because the one problem Republicans have is that a lot of us lack backbone, but that's the old Republican, that's not the new day Republican. So when it comes to dialogue, I finally messaged her back and said, your Facebook is full of so much hate. I do not see how we can have any common ground. And so I canceled the meeting because I wasn't going to put myself through that. I was willing to have a conversation, but I'm not willing to be called a racist just because I was born white. I won't put up with that. I won't be called racist because I'm a Trump supporter. I won't deal with that. So maybe when there's not so much name calling and where people can just sit there and bash you based on who you're voting for. I mean, I don't see how you could have dialogue that has common ground, especially when you're walking into a place and another white girl's calling you white or racist for being born white. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. She also posts on her Facebook how we stole indigenous land. This is 200 and something years later. I'm not saying that everything that happened during a certain time was okay. However, this has been happening since the beginning of time. And it is time to wipe and move on and build a community together instead of sitting there trying to break us down over something that happened when none of us here were breathing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. State your name and address and speak into the microphone so we can hear you, sir. Thank you.
My name is Michael Wilson. I live in the 1700 block of Aldridge Road. I would just like to ask Ms. Hutchins a question. She commented about the Trump flag and what it means. I'd like to ask you what a BLM flag means to you.
Yeah. Amy.
So I'll speak to what the walk potentially could mean to some people who are involved.
I didn't say the walk, I said the BLM flag. When I'm
sorry, there was.
I can't turn on my TV or turn on my phone or YouTube without watching BLM flags storming into restaurants, yelling at elderly people, burning buildings down, all in the name of BLM. So yeah, the Trump flag, why is that a problem?
Well, I'd like to respond with a good job being involved. Thank you so much for showing up tonight, letting your voice be heard, staying active. That's really important. Thank you.
That is not an answer. You asked that of us, we're asking that of you. Were you not voted to be put into office? So give us an explanation, just like we were expected to give you an explanation. Yeah, without the politician answer.
She can. She won't.
So there's an area of this speech where there's some aggression behind it. And I don't feel like anything will come from having an aggressive attitude. I feel like you are able to speak your voice. I'm able to ask questions to get to know what the bottom of this story is. I'm wanting to know more about what drives you. What does that flag mean? What does that Confederate flag mean to you? Give me some insight. I don't need to say what a Confederate flag means to me. I want to know what it means to you. why are you so proud
Your
to fly that
constituents
Confederate flag?
voters have no voice, so we don't get to
I can't hear when many.
I think I got my answer.
Yeah, you did.
State your name and address, Alan.
My name is Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21, Lewis. I want to speak about a couple of things. Mr. Goodall came up and asked about the Legion offering a place for people passing through. People that you talked about earlier in the workshop about being homeless and trying to come up with ideas to help them. There's an answer for you right there, and you dismiss it or get rid of it. So I have to ask you, how could you have done it? How can you do what you're asking others to try and come up with? With the bridge, I thought it was built to have families there. They can't accommodate families, you said. So I don't know what's wrong with the city of Cortez and the way they operate for the homeless. Back to the parade and the marchers. I go to I go to the lineup every Saturday, mingle with those people that are getting ready to go on that ride. I get an uplift from those folks. They're us. They're America, they're Montezuma County. They have pride in God, family, and country. And I would like you guys to join them once. You were asked by Tiffany to do that. Join them. See with them. But if you can't do that, then stay out of the way. I've gone down onto Main Street 3 times and walked to see the interactions because I wanted to see those letters that were being put in the paper, see that action played out. I've not seen them, but I have seen some of the actions of those who claim to be part of the street blockers. I don't like what I see there. So you need to get out on Main Street. You need to get out into that ride and find out what's happening here in Montezuma County. Montezuma County is awake. They love this country, but you guys are not showing an example. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Please state your name and address and speak in the microphone so we can hear you, sir. Please.
Sean Randolph, 13348 Highway 145, Lower Colorado. I don't think it's about Black Lives Matter. There's probably less Black people that live in Montezuma County that are in this room. So how is there a conflict? Like pretty well, it seems to me that it's an intentional, they're intentionally trying to trigger aggression by the actions. It's not a peaceful protest, but I mean, I think it should remain as peaceful as possible. But everywhere else, if this is the continuing pattern, it shows that there's an intention to cause a disruption or the reaction, and then they can say, "Oh, look, see, they're crazy." Well, I mean, obviously, if you're going to trigger a reaction on somebody and blame them for that reaction, I mean, common sense will tell you that there's a dissident intention there. In a small community like this, we don't have a lot of time to mess around and play like these psychological games. I mean, Amy, she's way more educated than any of us. I mean, obviously, you can tell that she's better of a person than any of us. And I mean, we're just the taxpayers that that pay for the salary to be sitting here and be condescended, talked down to, because she's up on a 55-inch screen. Like, we're still the citizens of this community, still the backbone, still the paycheck. Like, that's where the hard work, the farmers, the cowboys, the ranchers, the people, everyday citizens pay for all of this. All of this gets paid for by taxpayer money. So, like, in appreciation of taxpayers, like, I think we should take and put them into consideration. And I do agree that the bridge was a bad idea. Maybe it was a start for something, but a homeless shelter for kids and moms and stuff like that might have been smarter to do first. But the way it is, but right now it is what it is, and it's the best we got. So at least it gives us something to work from. So I mean, there's progress in those space, but there's tremendous problems in this community. There's poverty. There's no business. There's 20 empty storefronts at least on Main Street. Why? why is there an intention to strangle out small businesses? So we all go to Walmart, and it's the commercialization of everything. All of our agriculture that we grow here goes somewhere else. Everything we buy here comes from El Salvador and South America and stuff. How is it cheaper to import stuff from the south of the border, haul it all the way up here, than just to grow it here in our own community? Like the grassroots community support, everybody looking out for each other, like neighborhood watch, just people being accountable. Hey, that's not my job to look out for my neighbor, but if it was me, I would appreciate somebody did that for me. And everybody has a moral intuition compass that guides and drives it. How would you like to be treated? That's pretty simple. So everybody that's having these issues, how would you like to be treated? Treat people that way, see how it works out. And for God and country, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Question, do we have any?
Hey, Bill, is there still somebody online waiting to speak?
Is there someone online?
There's 5 people online. Todd King is next.
Okay, go ahead, just a second. We're trying to, we're ignoring those people up there because we can't see their hands. Okay, go ahead.
You want Todd
State
to
your name
talk?
and address, please.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yes, Todd. Todd, go ahead. State your name
Yeah,
and address.
my name is Todd King, 14251 Road 31, Mancus. And I own a business downtown, and I'll express first off that I'm disappointed that none of the council members have seemed to have visited the businesses to you know, get their take on all of this. I was approached by Chief Knuckles, and you know, so I do appreciate that he did care enough, not just about the citizens, but about the businesses to try and get a full picture of the impact all this is having. And as I explained to Chief Knuckles, first and foremost, for me, is that we all have a God-given as well as constitutionally protected right to freedom of speech and protest and assembly. And so I don't think that either one of these groups should be inhibited from expressing themselves. Whether we agree with them or not, I personally find agreement on some points with both groups. And contrary to what the gentleman had said earlier this evening, it doesn't matter if you get offended or not. People still have the right to express their beliefs and make a stand for their freedoms. In fact, it's kind of ironic that nowhere in the Constitution is it mentioned that we have a right to be offended, because frankly we don't. I mean, we can be offended all we want and go whine about it to whoever will listen, but that's about the extent of it. We don't have any right to you know, then encroach on anybody else's liberties just because we're offended. So getting to the protests themselves, I'm going to start with just a little personal story from personal experience with customers. Had some Navajo ladies come in from out of town a few weeks ago. They were they saw the Patriot Riders at the Ute Cafe and thought maybe there was a parade going on. They got into town and saw the justice marchers and were concerned that they were maybe coming in the middle of something dangerous. And they did express to me once they saw BLM signs that they felt secure due to their ethnicity, that they would probably be okay. And I expressed to them that both parties are committed to being peaceful, and so they should feel safe doing their shopping throughout town. And I do appreciate that about both groups is that they are committed to being peaceful.
Todd, thank you. The time is up. We appreciate your comment. Do you have one last statement?
He's gone.
Okay. Anyone else online who wants to speak?
We have a lot of people online. Connie Hutchinson is next.
Okay, Connie Hutchinson, state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Connie Hutchison, and I am from Aztec, New Mexico. And I am also the president of San Juan County Patriots. And I'm here to agree with Tiffany that the time should stay the same. There are several of us that travel all the way from San Juan County to come to their rallies. And we're there to support them. And they have inspired us to do our Freedom Ride, which is on Friday nights. And we have gotten several people from Durango as well as Cortez to join us. So I just want to say that I want to continue to come to Cortez and show our patriotism. That's it.
Thank you. Ma'am at the podium, you state your name and address, please.
Krista Bustamante, 1101 Willow Street. I know with our Patriot Ride, I have 6 little girls I'm raising, and they have no American pride. And as a privilege, we don't have a privilege. We have a God-given right in our Constitution to assemble at any rate we see fit. And nowhere in the Colorado laws does it state that we're not allowed to honk our horns for any necessary reasons. And none of us have had anything but peaceful protests from the Patriot Ride. When the BLM choose to memorialize lifetime criminals that have been convicted of attempted murder, like George Floyd, and sexual assault on a 14-year-old minor child like Jacob Blake, that's when we get a little upset. And we feel that that's possibly not a good thing to march and celebrate, but we as patriots have never engaged. We have done nothing but express our pride for our country, our liberties, our rights, our freedoms, and our support for law enforcement. None of the protests that you guys are claiming, we believe they are peaceful assemblies. We're not aggressive, we don't interact. We aren't running out in front of vehicles. We aren't running out in front of the marchers to stop them. We aren't flipping them off like they are us. I had my 9-year-old daughter told to go F herself. And she's mixed race. And for me, I was called a white supremacist, racist, for joining in the Patriot Parade. So my 9-year-old is mixed race. my two nephews are now anything but racist. And for them to engage and try and get us to alter our times when nothing in the Constitution states you can only assemble between this point and this time. It says as long as the peaceful assembly is a God-given right, and nobody shall take that away or silence it. And that, as the Patriots, is what we are doing. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any more online speakers?
Yes, Ashley is next.
Okay, good. Speak your, state your name and address, please. Ashley?
Ashley, you'd have to unmute yourself. You should be able to see it bottom left corner.
Okay, state your name and address, please, Ashley.
I think she was disconnected.
Looks like she's having some connection problems.
Yeah.
Are there another speaker up there?
Rayleigh is on for the second time.
We had everybody in here speak before we have somebody go up again.
Yeah, we'll come back to.
We have MB McAfee, who hasn't spoken, Fred Blackburn, who hasn't spoken.
Okay.
Don Robertson, that hasn't spoken, and Galaxy S10 that hasn't spoken.
Okay, the next one.
Who do you want? Rayleigh?
Rayleigh's spoken already. We'll try to give everyone an opportunity to speak.
So MB McAfee.
Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Hello, this is MB McAfee.
We can hear you. State your name or state your address, please.
This is MB McAfee, 22277 County Road 20, Lewis, Colorado. I want to make one correction to something I heard Mr. Mays say. The bridge emergency shelter was never built or ever had a concept of housing women and children and families. That was never part of our mission. It has never been part of our mission. The bridge emergency shelter started as a way to keep people safe who had no other place to go during the winter time. And it is evolved to a place now that has some transitional housing on the second floor, a way to keep people safe in the winter, and a way to keep people who are drinking also safe in the winter. So it was never meant to be a family shelter. I want that correction made loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone on the floor who would like to speak? Yeah. We'll try to give everyone a chance to speak that hasn't spoken already.
Craig Robinson, Southern Bluffs. I'm kind of new to the community by about 5 years. I spent 27 years serving in the U.S. Army, defending the Constitution. I don't know what's going on, that what I made sure was defended, or what was my soldiers were giving their lives to defend. But this is nonsense. I am for equality. I am for freedom riders. 100% for peace officers. Because I could not have done my job overseas if I didn't know my streets were safe. I don't know why it's so hard to have Park La Vida can be one site for one protest, and then Freedom Riders can continue down Main Street. This is getting way too crazy and too dangerous. And I asked Chief, can we maybe get some officers out there to separate more? That's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking to all Americans, whether you're left or right. I just ask that people would come together. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else online?
Fred Blackburn is next.
Okay, go ahead. State your name and address, please.
Fred Blackburn, 104 East Carpenter in Cortez, Colorado. I've been here close to 40 years now and a resident of Southwest Colorado all my life. I've never seen anything like what is going on now. And I want to thank both the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department for paying attention, keeping things low key. We are seeing divisions within our family, within our friends. We don't talk to anymore. We're losing our network of visibility with each other and helping each other. And I don't think we've seen the worst of it. I was worried weeks ago about this, and one of the items of discussion was we're worried about the fringe folks on both sides. It's really not whether the Patriots go up and down the street or whether St. Barnabas goes up and down the street. It's what really concerns me is the folks that might not have a screw tied on completely. I think we are putting the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department in a very, very tough situation. And we have been lucky in this county and this city by good leadership from both. And to call us folks that have a different feelings not patriots, I don't believe that. To make us feel like if we're flying the American flag, we're doing something wrong. My father was a B-17 pilot over Germany. My brother served in the services. This is just wrong. And my concern is not what's happened to date or reflecting who has the right to do what and when. It's what is going to happen in the next few weeks as we approach an election. What is going to happen to our community? Are we going to be able to avoid a confrontation that's not pretty? And if any of you have been and looked at the different ammunition sources and readability and the 1.8 million guns that have been sold in the last few months, you realize it's reaching something that's beyond politics. As city council members, you guys have a tough job here to come up with. I fully support the ability of both. I do not support language and stuff that I've seen going on downtown. The running of red lights, the blocking of a major highway. This is not right. It is not legal. And I don't care which side is doing it. I would support the police and enforcing the laws that are in place. And being very, very careful of the people on the fringe that might not be mentally stable, that none of us would want to see what's going to happen. But the reality is here. I commend the city council for bringing this out in the open. I commend everybody for bringing in their perspectives. That does not ease my burden of being in this town and worrying what would happen in a shooting or a beating downtown. That would be the worst thing we could see. So I want to thank everyone for remaining moderate and think about what you're doing and the messages that really are the same in many cases. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any more, Bill, online?
Yes, I think it's someone using an app. It's Galaxy. Oh, he just logged out. Don Robertson would be next.
Dawn.
Okay, Don.
Hi, this is Dawn.
Your address.
10659 Road 26. I spoke earlier. I'm a co-organizer of the walk. I just wanted to express my admiration for everyone that I've met in town. I've met brilliant, hardworking people, and I am going to learn a lot from this community. I just wanted to clarify a few things. The reason why racism is up right now in this nation is because racism exists. And when we walk, dozens and dozens of people give us the thumbs up and honk in support because they understand what our message is. I just want to express my deep sorrow and concern for any negativity that the riders may face. And I extremely urge people to please, please come and walk with us. Or if you happen to be downtown, please just observe what we are doing. We remain silent. You know, there's only 45 of us. It's not that big to see that we are just a few dozen people with messages that are trying to include all people. And the reason why we highlight some communities is because they have not been treated equally in the past. And we would like to focus on them so that they feel an extra layer of support with us. One of my best friends is a fully disabled special ops veteran. And I hear every day about the heroism that happens that protects all of our rights. And I would just like to say again that if there is anything I can do to make anyone feel more safe, I am open to it. And I just want to say again that there is no part of me that is against the police force. I am honored and privileged to be a part under their layer of protection every day. And yeah, that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. There's no more comments. We still have
There's more people. Are you?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for more people? Oh.
Bill, we've got somebody here, so just hold them a minute.
Okay, Alan.
Yes, Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21 in Lewis. I want to comment on the bridge again. I need the city council to reflect what the bridge was sold on for this community. I think when they improved it, they wanted to have a place for those that were in the park, those that needed a place to be comfortable in the wintertime. But I do remember that they also sold it with the idea that they would have a place for some of the families that were left without a place to stay. So I have to question where Mrs. McAfee has her information. I know that she was the originator of the first bridge shelter, but maybe she forgets how the bridge was sold to this community for the improvement and money that it put in. So I do think that there were families that were included to be able to use the bridge. So I would like that to be looked into by the council. If it was not, then I think something was misplaced when they spent all of those dollars for the way that they built the new shelter. So that's all I'm going to say, is that I think the council needs to look into it and correct Ms. Manning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next person online.
That would be Rayleigh Marmerston.
Is there anyone else? Because
Um,
we should let.
Is there anyone that hasn't spoken online?
Hold on. We got Ashley again.
Is there anyone that hasn't spoken?
Ashley.
Okay.
Yes.
Ashley, go ahead, speak, Ashley. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Ashley Miller, and my address is 691 Wyoming Street, Cortez. And first of all, I would like to say that there is a statute of Title 42, Vehicles and Traffic, Regulation of Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Regulation of Vehicles and Traffic, Part 2, Equipment, Horns and warning devices. The driver of a motor vehicle, when reasonably necessary to ensure safe operation, shall give audible warning with the horn, but shall not otherwise use such horn when upon a highway. So technically the Patriot Parade, it is a parade, is doing their thing and honking their horns and being all loud and stuff. They are violating the law, especially when they're honking their horns loudly. I brought my 9-year-old daughter to the march, and she got so scared because of the obscenities that was yelled at us. And she later told me that she thought that they had guns, which, come on, this is Montezuma County. You guys probably do have guns. And so I haven't brought her back because she's afraid. And also, it was really freaking rude of the council member to call out Dawn Robertson as not being a part of the community, asking her if she was actually from here and if she actually came to organize this. Like, really? Are you doing that because she's Black? And Amy, thank you for your Amy, thank you for your grace through all of this. You are awesome.
Glad you represent us.
Glad you represent us. Thank you. I'm done.
Council said that. None of you guys said that.
It was a community, it was somebody in the
Wasn't a
audience.
councilman.
No, it was a participant that asked where the individual was from because she stated that she was not from here.
Anybody else know?
Online.
Yeah.
We have Lindsay Beal. Are you ready?
Go ahead. State your name and address, please.
My name is Lindsay Beal, 204 South 6th Street in Dolores. I just wanted to say something because I have attended one of the marches. I actually specifically went down there to go kind of see both sides because I heard about the parade and I live up in Dolores. I was a little bit concerned because I joined a Facebook group during COVID. It was called like Montezuma County's Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And I have documentations of many threads with a lot of racist comments, things that were quite scary. One of them, and some of the discussions were specifically with concern from citizens in the community that they thought BLM activists were going to be bussed in and were going to be starting riots. And I've seen nothing of that sorts in attendance and the documentation from the BLM march. If anything, the majority of the participants, if not all of them, I know there have been a few individual cases where some people have maybe gotten into some confrontations, but people are going there in silence and to stand for Black Lives Matters. And the reasons for that, I think another community member stated, is we're just trying to shed light on racism in our country, not necessarily saying that any one specific person is racist in our community. And while we all agree that actually all lives matters, it's to focus on that Black Lives Matters. My biggest concern in attending these and fear of even going to Cortez is, first off, I want to say I consider myself a patriot. You know, I have an American flag. And so I think we're all patriots. The group that does the parade that calls the patriots, I have a fear of them bringing guns and showing, and the guns are very present. And while we do have a right to bear arms in our country, they're coming with guns in masses down the street. Also, you know, if you look at the statistics in our country, if a Black person was to show up with a gun coming down the street, more than likely they would be arrested, possibly shot or killed. And so that's why I stand and march and protest and wanting equality for all of us in our community. And I do think there is an intimidation factor there. I'm also concerned that I see Trump flags that say, go fuck your feelings, being raised as high as the American flag, and also Confederate flags that I've also seen flying higher than the American flag. I just think that I'm just concerned. It is scary to go down there, and there is an intimidation factor. Also, too, as we march, we're in a group and we are standing together in solidarity. As the cars go by, I'm not sure that the parade community is aware of what all of the members are doing, because they're all driving down the street in separate cars, and there is documentation. You know, while it's not illegal to scream vulgar language out windows and things like that, it is definitely disturbing within the community.
I get it from them.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for your patience. Would you state your name and address, please?
Again, my name is Travis Hummel, 41326 Road H. And as a member of the 75 Legion, and what our Sergeant at Arms had expressed earlier about the dry capping on the Legion private property, I believe that that is something that should be brought up again, and we should find a synergetic way of making sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. The online people?
I can't pronounce Michael Monroe, maybe?
Michael Monroe. Michael Monroe, can you state your address, please? You unmute yourself.
He's unmuted.
Go ahead and speak.
He's unmuted and there's nothing coming through.
Okay.
You want to move on or wait?
Yeah, the next online person.
Galaxy S10. Well, I'm not sure who the name is.
State your name and address, please.
This is Sherry Simmons.
Sherry Simmons.
Sherry Simmons. I live in Lewis, Colorado. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I am the founder of the Mom Matrix. I was at your meeting and I left. We have over 2,000 members, not all from Cortez, different areas. I do not feel, actually, I know that we do not have to have your permission to do what we're doing. It was fought and paid for over 200 years ago. We love this country, and that is why we're doing what we're doing. It has nothing to do with the BLM or the protesters. We are considerate. We follow traffic rules. We are here because we love the country. We are showing our patriotism every Saturday because we miss the America that we all grew up with. The division that is in Cortez now wasn't a while ago. And I don't know, you can do the math if you want. I believe it started about the same time as the protest did. It isn't coming from us. We love everybody. We welcome anybody into our group. We are not white supremacists. We have all kinds of races. If you'd like to know about us, just come and join us. We meet and we will continue to meet. We meet every Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Youth Cafe. I'd like to just touch base. I am the one that asked the young lady where she was from, because I've already looked into her, and she goes from community to community organizing these things. So she is an outsider. She was placed in here, and she was probably paid to be present this evening. But anyway, I'm just going to go back to the fact we do not have to defend ourselves to you or to anybody else. That was bought and paid for over 200 years ago. We are going to continue to do what we do. We're going to continue to follow the laws and the rules, be courteous, show our love for this country and our love for this community. I'm done.
Amen.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the floor who can speak? State your name and address, please, sir.
Craig Robson, Southern Bluffs. Hearing these comments from Americans, I want to say that there's that the Constitution, we all talk about it, we all live up to it, but we can abuse it. We can be out there in an assembly and abusing First Amendment rights. Terrorists that have their guns or their spray paint or their rocks or anything else that is of a terrorist action. It can be of well, let me backtrack. When you're out with guns like Boogaloo Group or Good Old Boys or Antifa, KKK, Black Panthers, whoever it is, once they disrupt American lifestyle or any kind of lifestyle is a terrorist action. So with these rallies, we have to say, hey, enjoy your freedom, but don't abuse it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody waiting in the wings, Bill?
Yeah, we have Krista Gustamentos.
Okay. Krista,
Yes, sir.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Krista Gustamontes, Willow Street, Cortez. I grew up in this town. From the time I was born, I idolized the values that this town represented. The wholesome family, the non-racial driven, God-fearing values this town used to have. And it has gotten so corrupted by big city ideas. There is no small town, wholesome family values anymore in this town, except for what us patriots in the Patriot Ride are trying to defend and remember and uphold on our Constitution and our rights. And I feel that if we are not permitted, so to speak, and as these are not parades because we need a permit, these are our God-given rights and constitutions to assembly, that these values will completely diminish. And there is no racism unless you label me a white person, a black person, a native person, a native person. You are a man. I am a woman. There is no color needed in front of it. That is how racism stays alive. And that is from Morgan Freeman, an amazing black man with amazing insight that everybody seems to totally ignore and fuel this racism that shouldn't even turning brother against brother, when all we're trying to do is peacefully assemble and hold on to wholesome values. Instead, we are labeled as white people, white patriots. Nothing should be about color. And that's where the younger generations are losing all hope and being corrupted. No color needs to exist in front of lives matter. Every single lives matter. From a newborn baby to an unborn baby to a dying elderly person. Doesn't matter the color of their skin. Every person should be treated with respect. And when that respect is thrown out there, it should be reciprocated. And that's all we as patriots are asking. Just give us a little bit of respect for our God-given rights to assemble. Nothing more. You guys on the council are paid by us. We elected you. All of the members in Cortez. We write your paychecks, including the mayors. If you had grown up here, Mr. Rainey, you would know and understand these wholesome values that we want to hold on to. Not like Durango. We have something in our community that was special. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience, ma'am. Go ahead and speak. Your name and address, please.
Amanda Winter, 17657 Road 27.7 in Dolores. I just wanted to speak on the whole gun issue. To think that we're just coming and carrying guns for the first time to the parade is crazy. If we have guns, it's because we have them already. I've always carried, I've always have, but I do it responsibly. You will not see us, and I'd love to see if you can find a picture or something of us out there waving guns around like we're playing cops and robbers or something. Like this, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. We are gun owners, but we're responsible gun owners, and I think the police would be involved if we weren't. So I just really wanted to put that out there because I don't know where this. I know that people assume we have guns, and it's probably a pretty good assumption that we have guns. However, it's not like we're out there pointing them at people or even in where you can see them, even though I believe Cortez still is open carry, you know? And, but it's not like I would love to see if there's someone that has been an unresponsible gun owner. We have guns all the time. That's not something that we just decided to bring to the parade. So
Thank you. Any other online speakers?
Next, we have Lena Galloway.
Okay, go ahead, please. State your name and address.
Hello, my name is Lena Galloway. I live at 750 Stratton Drive, Cortez, Colorado. I am part of the Patriots for Freedom. I have been riding with them for quite a few many weekends now. And I know that personally, I have never done anything to disrespect the BLM. I wave because I respect what they are representing. And also I want them to respect what I am doing. I believe in my constitutional right to be out there supporting what I believe in. I have never once have shown any disrespect to anybody out on the road. I want to support my country, my police officers, my first responders, and I find this so patriotic in my heart to be going out there and flying my American flag up above all the other flags that are out there. My American flag is higher than anybody else's flag. And I respect everybody out there to be able to represent what they believe in. And I don't want anything to change in this. I want to be able to show my respect for everyone. And I want the council to know that I mean no disrespect to anybody else. And I want to keep showing the respect for my flag, my country, my police officers, my first responders, and anything else that is out there. I have nothing but respect for my country. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the floor that hasn't spoken? Anyone else online to speak?
We have Lindsay Gelster.
Hey, Lindsay, state your name and address, please.
Lindsay Gelster, 691 Wyoming Street. And I would just like to say hello to everyone, first of all. And I support both sides on this. I think it's absolutely amazing people get to use their voices. I do think respect needs to be given. And I think we all, as adults, need to act like adults, no matter who you are, because we all have children watching us. And, you know, the excessive honking is actually a law, regardless of what other people have said earlier. And it's very disruptive to businesses on Main Street. And as true patriots, you care about your neighbors and your businesses. So I would like everyone to learn how to respect each other. Little embarrassed by how people have acted towards the council today. They deserve our respect, even if they don't share our views. And I would really like it if we all could come together and act right in this, because it's just going to get worse from here unless we turn it around now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone on the floor that hasn't spoken yet? Anyone online?
Kendra Brewer.
Kendra, could you state your name and address, please?
Hi, my name is Kendra Brewer and I live on Road 25 in Cortez, Colorado. I'd just like to state that I think that we have to look at the protests as they're occurring in our community and not extrapolate to what people perceive in the rest of the country or what they're hearing about in the rest of the country. I do think that this is actually a positive outlet for people on both sides right now. It feels good to be able to show up and to, you know, on a sign state what you want to communicate to your community. I have marched with the peace protest, and I can speak to the directives from the march organizers have always been to be peaceful, be kind, be conscious of how you're the space that you're trying to create right now, and to really maintain a positive connection with our community, and has really downplayed any negative any negative expression of our emotions during the walks. I will, and I can't see obviously most of the protesters that I've been walking with, so I can't speak to how that's gone for everybody else. I'm more able to see the truck parade go by, and there have been as many people waving and friendly in that as there have been middle fingers, which there has been indeed. But so far in our community, there actually has not been, from my perspective, a lot of, violent interaction. And I think it's on the responsibility of both sides' leaders to maintain a respectful approach for both groups. And as long as the leaders can maintain that within their groups, and I think that these expressions need to be allowed to happen. If they're not allowed to happen in this way, then it might become something that is a lot more difficult to control and to experience in our community.
Thank you. Anyone on the floor that hasn't spoken? Anyone online who would like to speak?
That hasn't spoken. We have a Branda Mann.
Okay, go ahead and state your name and your address, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Brenda Mann, and I live at 620 East Empire in Cortez. And I would just like to explain to the council that as far as the BLM in this town goes, I personally have been not only harassed in a cyber stalking situation, but also in a physical stalking situation by one of the more predominant, I guess you would say, leaders of the BLM, Colson Cuthair. He has also terrorized, I'm going to use that word, the majority of Cortez, Colorado, online and in person. He went as far as attacking my 16-year-old son on Facebook after the incident that happened at the Freedom Ride the other day that happened with Tiffany Gear. It is completely and utterly out of control with the BLM as far as the Freedom Ride goes. And it's in a violent manner. It's not even, there's no civility there whatsoever. He sits on my property. He follows you around town, and there's no peace to it whatsoever. There's no logic to it. You can't speak to these people without being called racist. He's told people to kill themselves just because he's part of the BLM. I wasn't going to do this, and I'm not really prepared, but after listening to how peaceful the BLM is and how hateful the Freedom Riders is, it's kind of ridiculous. I watch them drive up and down the road, and honking horns is the least of your concern when you get told to kill yourself and you get told, like I said, he attacked my 16-year-old son in a sexually explicit way the other day. So I would just like the council to keep that in mind as you are evaluating the difference in the BLM protesters and the Patriot Riders, because there is a significant difference in the two protests or rallies, however you would like to address them. And that's basically what I have.
Thank you very much. Anyone on the floor like to speak that hasn't spoken before? We're just trying to give everyone a chance to speak.
Elizabeth Vilas, 509 Chestnut in Cortez. I just wanted to speak to what the previous individual had said and a couple other individuals. I've had the fortunate experience of being able to participate in the walks the last few times. And I would just like to say that as far as my perspective and what I've seen with the walks, I haven't witnessed any individuals being disrespectful or violent. And I'll say the same about the Patriot Riders. At least, again, this is my personal experience from the last couple times I've been there, that I haven't seen any disrespect or intimidation or violence. I think what we're talking about maybe is some outliers of individuals that maybe support or feel more comfortable with Patriot Riders or feel more comfortable with the walkers, but I don't know if they necessarily fully envelop the values of each organization or group, we want to call it. But again, just from my personal experience, I think things have looked pretty peaceful, and I've really enjoyed the respect that I've received, and I've enjoyed the inclusiveness of the walkers. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
We have 3 users, but they've already spoken. We have Michael Monroe and Rayleigh Marmerston and Michael Monroe again.
Great. Well, they've already spoken. We're trying to give everyone an opportunity to speak once, and then we'll go into this second round.
Okay.
Anyone online or on the floor hasn't spoken? Okay. Tiffany, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I sure do. My name is Tiffany Gear. I live at 1752 Brook Street in Cortez, Colorado. I want to speak on the horn honking. We have had requests from the farmers market to honk our horns and show support of them when we go by. We have had a couple of people ask us not to do that. A good amount of the horn honking that you also hear going down Main Street are people that are bystanders that are honking in support of our freedom rides. So there's no way to control that, whether there's a law against it or not. It's never been an issue. People honking their horns for anything else has never been an issue until you put a freedom ride on it or call it a patriot ride. And I'm in support of what Amanda said about firearms. Never before has there been any discussion about feeling scared because people open carry a gun or you think they may have a concealed carry, which is our Second Amendment right, until you put it behind a freedom right. Never before has it been an issue until now. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
Sean Randolph, Pillbox 1 for this Colorado.
Speak into the microphone.
One of the concerns that I have is there's a disconnect between the council and the citizenry. And it seems like, I don't know where it off-railed, but like generally, according to my understanding, that it's supposed to be harmonious. We're supposed to work together. The city council works for the citizens. I don't know. It just seems like the condescending attitude, Amy Hutchins, she just doesn't like people. She doesn't like any of us. She's better than us. And that condescending attitude just offsets a lot of any kind of progress that would be intended to be made in this situation. And once again, like we're having an issue about all of Black people. I mean, seriously, I'm not racist at all. Like, it doesn't matter to me. But there is not a super huge problem because, like, that's when we have American Indian, we have Hispanics, we have, I mean, I'm part Indian, like there's a lot of other cultural considerations in this area other than, I mean, not saying that there's anything wrong with the movement, but like, I haven't seen a lot of like outlying situations that would dictate the necessity of all this over something that, I mean, it appears like we have more of a homeless population, we have more of a crime problem, we have more of a we could convert this into a homeless shelter, probably get a lot of people in here. I mean, there's a lot of things that are a problem in this community, and there's just more dissidents coming in, being shipped in, and like people that don't even belong here show up and they're like, yep, we have a problem, we need to bring it up. They're just trying to cause unrest and dissidence among a citizenry that's we're already at a struggle. We're already up against all kinds of stuff. It's a farmer, agricultural, tourist-based community. I mean, government is one of the largest employers, but like the tax money comes from the citizens. What happens when all the citizens don't have money? And then the government everything falls down. And I don't know, it's the destructiveness and the decay is conducive to maybe corruption, maybe miscommunication, maybe misunderstanding, maybe oversight. I don't know. I'm not really going to claim to be an expert on all this stuff. It just seems to me that there's a lot of underlying issues and gorillas in the room that, well, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to say this or that. And I mean, I do appreciate military law enforcement. Like my family was in the military, you know, a couple generations, Vietnam, World War II. There's a lot of community support that you know, there was some other women that fought the farmers. There's hardworking people in this community. It feels like they're getting a raw deal when they sit in here. And, you know, it seems like, you know, there's that disconnect is like we're under the magnifying glass, we're under the microscope, whenever actually the city works for us as the taxpayers. Like that funds everything to happen. So I think there should just be more of an understanding, or more of a between the citizens and the council. Like there has to be some kind of more respect, I guess. And they said it both ways. People, they feel like people were disrespectful to the council. I feel like sometimes some council is disrespectful to people. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff to work on, I think. And there's an option for peace, and there's an option for the other stuff. But I don't know, I guess we'll see how it plays out. But whenever you have forces that are causing distress, then you probably should take that into consideration. You know, but thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next online speaker, please?
That is JJ Sims.
Okay. State your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is JJ Sims, address 10185 Road 41.4, Mancos, Colorado. And I'm here just to share my experience. I've attended the Justice Walk a couple of times, and just wanted to share that my experience was incredibly peaceful, and both sides were waving at each other. And that as a justice walker, our intention is to stay silent and stay peaceful and allow all people and all parties to express what's true for them. And I think there's space for everyone. And I would support changing the times for both walks so that we can allow more space for each other without having any more altercations, but still have the space and freedom for both sides to speak their views and stand up for what they believe in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, next online speaker.
That's David Robinson.
Okay, David, state your name and address, please. Unmute yourself. David Robinson, can you unmute yourself, please? You can speak.
Bottom left corner, if you can't find it, there should be a little microphone.
David, can you unmute yourself, please?
There's no response.
Okay, are there any other online speakers?
We have Tara Lake.
Okay, Tara, would you state your name and address, please? Unmute yourself.
There's a microphone icon bottom left corner. You should just click on it. Yeah, there's no response.
Okay, are there any other speakers online?
The only speakers have already spoken.
Okay. Um, Anyone on the floor hasn't spoken? Okay, I think everyone on the floor has spoken. We'll give the people online another chance
Bill,
to speak.
sorry, Bill, have you tried calling on Michael again, or?
There's two Michaels. Since they both shared, it looks like they shared their logins. I can't tell you who is who.
Michael?
Which Michael? I got a top Michael and a bottom Michael.
I would say try both of them because she may have called in on the phone because her audio wasn't working.
All right, they're both unmuted.
Michael Monroe, could you state your name and address, please?
Hi, yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Hello. We can hear you.
What was that last?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Michael Monroe Alsop. I live here in Montezuma County, out on Road P. Sorry about earlier, my mic was not working. So I wanted to chime in and say that I think it's worth considering that these quote unquote new divisions that many people seem to be concerned about might seem new primarily because community members may have felt intimidated to speak out. I think that the intense reaction from people who take issue with calls for justice and anti-racism, which are happening now, may be evidence that people have been deterred from speaking out in the past. I personally was born and raised here, and I have witnessed racism here my entire life towards Native Americans, Latino and Latina people, and Black people, between kids, adults, and elders, and everywhere in between. And I did want to say that, as some people have said tonight, the walk is for justice and peace. It is not a quote BLM walk. It is a walk for justice and peace. And that includes, I think a gentleman brought up earlier that there is, because our population has a lot more Native Americans and Latino and Latina people than it does Black people, we do see a lot more racism towards them just based on sheer numbers of incidences. And there are many people who walk at the Walk for Justice and Peace that walk for these communities. And as a fellow member of Cortez, whose taxes also pay for each council member and the mayor, my opinion is that these are not, quote, big city ideas. I think that racism is here, it has been here, and I think it can be addressed. And I don't think it needs to be taken as an assault on patriotism, as some people have reacted really strongly against people suggesting that racism may exist here. I think that to limit ourselves to the idea that this town is different from a lot of other places, in that it doesn't have racism, I think that's a silly idea, because as I said, living here my whole life, I have seen it. And I did want to address the person who spoke about Dawn Robertson. I actually found it highly presumptuous for you to speak about Dawn, to quote, look into her. I'm not sure what that means, but I can attest that she is not paid to be here tonight. She is here on her own time. I can also attest that she's not organizing movements outside of the Cortez Walks for Justice and Peace, and I would urge you not to make assumptions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other online speakers?
We have Rayleigh Marmerstein.
Okay, go ahead.
My
State
name
your
is
name and address, please.
My name is Raleigh Marmorstein. To clarify for Don Robertson, who is no longer on this call, AmeriCorps is a nonprofit intended to serve poverty-stricken areas like ours. Dawn came to aid this problem in our schools specifically. And as a school psychologist, I applaud her for coming to a place like this with the color of her skin, hearing people tonight. I am an American. I was born in Southfield, Michigan, and I dreamed of moving to Colorado since I was 10 years old. I got here in 2014, so I'm not a local, but I set down roots as soon as I could. In regards to the reference of my Facebook page and the racism here in Cortez, I would like to state that I am white and I am anti-racist. I am not racist. As Americans, we are all born into a racist system that prioritizes whites as the standard and often the priority, which is the problem. And if we don't address the problem and we don't talk about the problem, it won't go away. Thank you for your time tonight, and I appreciate your service to our community.
Thank you. Okay, are there any others, Bill?
We have Tara Lake.
Okay. Tara, could you state your name and address, please?
Tara, you need to unmute yourself.
Tara, can you click on the microphone to unmute yourself?
Tara, in the Zoom meeting, if you put your mouse in it, you should see a mute button in the bottom left corner.
Maybe we can come back. Are there any others?
Michelle
Can we
Monroe
see if
also
that
put in.
Michael works?
Mr. Mayor, can we invite the people that are speaking to the next edition, like open comment period, so we can start moving
I
through
think
our
there's
agenda?
a voice trying to come through on Zoom.
Yeah, Michael
Hi,
Monroe,
sorry.
One more, then we'll move on with our agenda.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak. This is Annie Cedar, and I live on Road L in Cortez. And I am also sharing Michael's account, so I apologize for that confusion. I just wanted to speak to the goal of the marches, or the walks, which, as I understand, is to stand in solidarity with those in our community who experience oppression simply because of who they are or how they look. And myself, as someone who has worked in this town in a social service nonprofit, in a church, as well as with youth, I know that that oppression does happen here. And I just want to encourage and support council and organizations in our community and individuals here tonight in asking their neighbors, asking the community here to learn about how racism and discrimination happen in Cortez, and looking at what steps we can take to help our community be a place where everyone has access to the education and services and resources and safety that they deserve, because I know that we have a lot of room to grow. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. We're going to continue on with our agenda, and if there are any more speakers, we can address them toward the end of the meeting. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. Ordinance number, excuse me, 1277, Series 2020, Associate Planner Neva Connolly. Are you still there, Neva? Thank you. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. All right, I'm unmuted. All right, well, you guys still have a long agenda after this, so I'm gonna try to make it as brief as possible here. Let me put up a picture of one of the structures we're gonna look at. I don't think I'm that interesting. Share. So, share screen. All right, sorry, I've got to figure this out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so in 2019, the city of Cortez was awarded a grant by History Colorado, the state preservation office, to survey sites and potentially historic structures in Cortez. The 2019 grant was the 7th of such grants awarded, focused on surveying the original town site of Cortez. So far, 185 properties have been surveyed, with 102 structures eligible for historic designation on the City Register of Historic Structures, Sites, and Districts. The 2019 survey was awarded to Woods Canyon Archaeological Consultants, a local firm, and the survey focused on 22 properties south of Main Street along First Street. Of those 22 properties, 6 were eligible for national and state register, and 15 eligible for local listing. And so our historic preservation board really works with every aspect of the grant, from coordinating with our grant writer to write and apply for the grant. They coordinate with the consultant for grant deliverables. They work with the consultants and hold public meetings for the grant kickoff, and again later for the results of the survey at the conclusion of the grant. So the board also sends letters to all eligible property owners once the results are in, and they let the property owners know that their property is eligible for city listing. These letters for this grant were sent out earlier this summer, and the city has received 4 applications for local listing, 3 of which are under review currently, and the 4th one will be going to council shortly. The properties are 23 South Market, 33 South Market, and 35 South Beach. The Historic Preservation Board has reviewed these applications and recommended forwarding to council for approval. And listed in your staff report are the sections from the city code that lay out the criteria for listing. All 3 of these properties have met the criteria for local listing. And also included in your report were the architectural inventory forms for each property that list what the consultants found for each property. So these applications are voluntary by the property owner. And so it does signal their support for listing their own properties. So that is the ordinance before you tonight. Do you have any questions?
Questions down here? No questions down here?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Neva. Do I hear a motion for this? Oh, yeah. We're open this for public hearings. Sorry. Are there any public comments on this?
Anyone online?
Bill, are there any comments online?
No, I don't see any.
Thank you.
Okay, now, is there a motion? This item?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that council approve the final reading of ordinance number 1277, series 2020, approving the inclusion in the City of Cortez Register of Historic Structures, Sites, and Districts, specifically the structures located at 23 South Market, 33 South Market, and 35 South Beach Streets.
Second.
Yazzie. Aye. Pickens.
Aye.
Quintero.
Aye.
Medina. Aye. Rainey.
Aye.
Lady.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a quasi judicial item. City council sits as a quasi judicial body, and the city council is restricted to make its finding of facts and evidence presented to them at the hearing. No member of the city council should receive or solicit comments from any persons regarding a matter pending before the city council prior to the formal hearing itself. If anyone has had any contact on this matter, please advise council and consider recusing themselves. Okay, the quasi judicial item is the new retail marijuana cultivation license for Rennie Rulez LLC. Tina Martinez is sitting in for City Attorney Mike Green and City Clerk Linda Smith. Go ahead, Tina.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I think that since you've had the hearing or the reading, I don't know if anything needs to be clarified in terms of how many quasi judicial hearings you have been exposed to, but effectively the rules that were laid out prior, there's a staff presentation, which it's my understanding that they are recommending approval. And then we allow for applicant questions and then council questions at that point in time. And then we move to the applicant's presentation if they would like to put on any evidence, and then, excuse me, pardon me, any rebuttal. And then again, the staff can ask questions as well as council, and then we open it up for a public hearing. When it is open to the public hearing for comments, anyone wishing to speak needs to be recognized by the chair and state their name and address. And they should be sworn in pursuant to section 4-213C of the ordinances. And any party in interest shall be allowed to present evidence and to cross-examine witnesses. And just a brief reminder, parties in interest include the applicant, an adult resident of the neighborhood under consideration, the owner or manager of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration, and an owner of real property located in the neighborhood. Last, the neighborhood definition is the city of Cortez. So after that particular portion of the hearing is closed, council can have follow-up questions followed by any rebuttal from the applicant, and then council discusses their decision. And they need to apply and look at section 4-215, which I believe is in your packet, which outlines the decision's rules of things you may consider and what you must consider. And I can walk through those at the end because certain findings need to be made prior to that decision.
Thank you.
I move that we consider approving a new retail marijuana cultivation license for Rennie Ruiz LLC, DBA.
David?
Yes.
We can't make a motion yet for that.
I'm on the wrong one.
We have to open the public hearing first and speak with our applicants.
Yeah. We're going to open this up for a public hearing. Is anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Bill, is Corinne Wolf still on? They were here earlier, but they're not here now, so I don't know if they're on Zoom or not.
Corinne Wolf.
Yes.
Don't see them.
Okay, they were here earlier, they're gone. So I don't know if the applicant information is included, all their background checks have been checked. Mike did come review the application before he left last week, and they have met all the requirements that we require for them to complete their application process. I'm sorry they're not here to make a statement. It was earlier.
Okay.
I'm sure Tina has more to add, but if you guys have any questions on the applicant, I will try to answer them.
Okay. Council, have any questions on the applicants online or? Okay, Tina, do you have anything to add?
At this point in time, if the staff is making the recommendation for approval and the applicant doesn't wish to present any evidence, then we can open it up for the public hearing and entertain any comments.
Okay, this is open for a public hearing. Are there any comments? I hear no comments. Okay. We'll call for a motion. David?
Well, and just before a motion is made, if you all will entertain me for a few minutes to read on the record the section 4-215, which basically outlines the issuance or denial of approval. So in determining whether to issue an approval under this article, the Cortez City Council may consider the following: whether the applicant is complete and signed by the applicant, and I believe that was stated that is the case. Whether the applicant has paid the application fee, I believe that also was stated, has been completed. Also, whether the application complies with all the requirements of this article, the Retail Marijuana Code, and the rules promulgated by the State Licensing Authority. Whether the application contains any material misrepresentations. Specifically, number 5, whether the proposed retail marijuana establishment complies with the applicable zoning regulations. You have to make specific findings of the fact with respect to whether the building in which the proposed retail marijuana establishment will be located conforms to the distance requirements. This one is important because the particular entity already has a retail license, and that is allowed for, and therefore it does comply with the zoning standards. And I think Mr. Green also put that in the memo. Also consider the facts and evidence adduced as a result of its investigation, which I think was mentioned a moment ago on the record. Any other facts pertinent to the type of license approval for which applications have been made, including the number, type, and availability of retail marijuana outlets located in or near the premises under consideration. And for applications to approve any retail marijuana store in the same location where the store has previously been licensed, then you need to consider if they were operated in a manner that adversely affects the public health, welfare, or safety of the immediate neighborhood in which the establishment is located. Number 9 is the applicant's current in payment to the city of Cortez, all taxes, fees, sales tax assessments, and charges under section 4-209D. And whether the application complies with all sections of the Colorado Constitution, the Colorado Code of Regulations, the revised statutes of Colorado, and Montezuma County regulations and local rules, including any future regulations and anything that has been amended from time to time. Lastly, the council may deny the approval for good cause as defined in the Colorado Retail Marijuana Code.
Thank you, Tina.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments from council? David, can you enter a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council consider approving a new retail marijuana cultivation license for Rennie Ruiz LLC, DBA Doobie Sisters Botanics, to be located at 695 North Broadway, Cortez.
Second.
Lucero?
Orly, mute yourself.
fell asleep.
Orly,
Can we go in a different order?
Huckins,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Aye. I couldn't get it unmuted. Battery's dying. Plugging it in. Like my pacemaker.
Lucero,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Lady.
aye,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. There's no unfinished businesses. Under new businesses, the 2020 airport pavement maintenance project, airport manager Russ Machen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be as brief as I can. We received a grant from the state for this calendar year, $297,000. The city matched that with $33,000 for a total fund of $330,000 for seal coat and remarking various pavements at the airport. We broke down the work schedule in 4 parts because we were afraid that the project money would not cover the bids because bids have been running high this year from the grapevine. So the following payments were included in the project. Entire runway, the entire full-length parallel taxiway A and shoulders, the taxiway connectors A1, 2, 3, 4, general aviation ramp, airline ramp, taxiway Bravo, and adjoining hang ramps. This represents about 90% of all of our pavement. The reason we've had such a large project this year is because the state has not had a grant program for 6 years. We usually use that to chip away at our paving areas year by year. But because they were unable to meet their obligations in the grant program, they suspended it. So here we are left with a big body of work. And we could not do it without state participation in the local budget because the project amounts are well beyond any 1 year of annual budget allowance. For this project to commence, we'll have to close the airport for only 1 day. That would be a day and a night. And that's just for the runway. All the other pavements that I mentioned will open the airport, and those will be closed. Those sections will be closed on a rolling basis, but the aircraft will still be able to make their way to and from the runway. We received 2 bids. Maxwell Asphalt out of Bountiful, Utah, Intermountain Snowy Seal out of Salt Lake City. Maxwell Asphalt bid was $379,875.55. Intermountain Snowy Seal, $388,000.70.38. Difference of $8,194.83, or 2.1%. So Maxwell Asphalt was the low bidder. They also offered us an alternate reflective glass bead application, which reduced, or would reduce if we accepted the option, $10,375 for that particular portion of the work. We accepted that, and that brought down their bid total, their contract offer of $369,500.55. So that still left us with funding shortfall of $39,500.59. So the airport was left with a decision of reducing the project scope. And I listed the schedule for you, but it's also on the color-coded chart that was included as an appendix to your memo. So if we reduce the smallest area of pavement seal coat, that would be the yellow area, and that's only $10,900. So that's not going to get us to where we need to be. The next lowest one was Schedule 2, which is the orange area on your charts. And that is $56,255, so that will cover the shortfall if we were to chop that area off. All of the painting areas must be done because we've been piecemeal painting for years, waiting to get this fully launched once we really get a state bid. So I am remiss to chop any of the painting. We need to do it all, whether an area is still covered or not. So that's your option one. We drop Schedule 2, the orange area, saving $56,000. The other option is, not knowing that we're ever going to get a state grant of this magnitude again, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, aviation fuel taxes, which fund the state grant system, are severely reduced. It'll be years to recover again. So we're going to get right back to where we were, several years of reduced or minimal grants, if any. That being said, if we were to dip into the federal grant, the CARES Act grant that the airport received, above and beyond what the city of Cortez received, this is specific to the airport, $633,102. Now, we spoke about this before in council meetings, and it was a measure or decision, pardon me, that we would use this amount of money to pay our expenses going forward for year 20 and 21, and all of our normal yet reduced revenue, you would bank for any future needs, any second wave pandemic, any future grant obligation matches. So if we were to take the $39,555 from that fund, it would reduce our savings by that same amount. However, that still leaves us with a projected airport fund total at the end of 21 of $413,000, which is the lowest in the history of the airport since I've been working there, and I'm pretty sure before that too. So that covers 29 plus years. So my recommendation, rather than saving $5,600 in matching funds for the $56,000 drop on Schedule 2, that we, and also returning $50,000 in state grant money, which is hard to get to begin with, it's my recommendation that we dip into this fund for the $39,500, make the project whole, and get it done. And do all of the pavement areas and bring them all up to a nice, clean condition. So that's my recommendation to council. I'm open to questions.
This is Rachel. I'll just say it seems like a great opportunity for us to be able to do this whole project in one go and have it all start fresh.
Thank you. And I will mention that any of the money we use on this CARES Act grant, as we chip away at that $633,000, it's a 100% federal grant. There is no local match.
Sounds like an opportunity we shouldn't pass up. Any other questions, comments from council?
None here.
Any down here? Okay. Do I hear a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion awarding the 2020 airport paving maintenance project to apply the seal coating and restriping of the airport pavement to Maxwell Asphalt for $369,500.55, allowing the additional $39,500.55 to be expended.
I'll second.
Rainey,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Aye.
Duffy,
Aye.
Lady.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, Russ, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
He's still waiting.
Yeah.
I
Next item is the solar generating installation at the airport. Go ahead, Russ.
Okay, we've been over this in depth, in detail at the workshop this evening. So my memo pretty much boils it down to the math that over the first 5 years, we will expend $66,570 to rent the system, to use that phrase. Same time period, 5 years, we would estimate and spend on this particular target meter, because there's only one meter that we're affecting out of 4. It's the biggest meter that we have as far as usage. So it would be estimated we spend an average of $6,981 per year for 5 years, so total $34,905. So the difference, the additional cost to us in the solar aspect is $31,665 estimated over 5 years. Then you come to the buyout provision at the beginning of year 6. That's an additional $23,183. So the expenditure over the 5 years and the buyout provision together, those two, cost the airport $54,848. Then over the next 7 years, we would make up that cost and we come to a break-even point. So it sounds like a long time, but in year 13, or after year 13, 12, correct, 12, we would be independent in the money. And we would save, we don't know what the future electric bills are going to be, but based on historical precedents of those 4 present meters, we don't know what additional meters might be added in the future, we would save about half of our electric bill going on into the future. Mike from Shaw Solar did bring up the fact that even though he's built in this aging reduction of production as the years roll on, I've got 2 solar panels that are 27 years old on a hill that power an obstruction line that haven't lost any capacity at all. They're still chugging. And he noted that the City Hall, which was put up several years ago, is putting out more than you anticipated 100%, even though it's supposed to be great. So I think we're going to get, this is a worst case scenario, I guess is what I'm saying. Probably going to be better than that. So we'll say half or better from that point forward for perpetuity until who knows how long. They're guaranteed for 25 years. I've seen them in service for 40 years. So pretty good bang for your buck. Any questions from council? I think Mr. Mike from Shaw Solar covered it pretty well and answered considerable questions at the workshop.
That's a pretty good deal. Any questions from the council down here or up there? Okay. Let's have a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the contract to Shaw Solar for the installation of a solar electric generating array at the airport.
Second.
Huckins,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Dottie,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Keo.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting here. Next item is amendment to the independent contract agreement with Burkett Company LLC. City Manager John Doherty.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked Chris Burkett to take over the organizing and collection and making sure that the bills that we turn in on COVID will be reimbursed. And I saw today where he caught one and said, no, this isn't going through because it was a budgeted item and it was not going to be covered. So I asked Chris to take this over. because he does such a good job. He's very meticulous and he keeps excellent records. And if you go in there and we've got a grant and pull out the folder, everything we've ever done for that grant is in there. And so I'm asking to the council pay Burkett and company an extra $7,500 to manage the COVID grant that we received.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions or comments from the council?
I think just in the spirit of best practices, just ensuring that those reimbursements and expenditures are tracked would be really good, especially for the CARES funding, where they're keeping a very watchful eye on us, and we don't want to have to give that money back for whatever reason. So I would make a motion to authorize, unless anybody else has any comments. Sorry, I'll pause.
Any other comments online or down here?
No.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the contract with Burkett Company LLC in the amount not to exceed $7,500 in fiscal year 2020 for the tracking and reporting of reimbursable expenses as set forth in the CARES Act.
Second.
Lucero,
Aye.
Hawkins,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Leahy.
Aye. Thank you. Dean, are you still there?
He is not, he asked me to take it.
Okay, I'll continue. Grant application request for the 2021 Conservation Service Corps. City manager.
Thank you. Dean asked me to excuse because he was on here for a while, but he's not feeling well, so I said I could handle this. We were requested by the county mitigation plan to submit what we would want to do for this coming year, next year. And staff got together and we decided that the invasive species, Denny Lake and Gear and the Carpenter need to be removed along with noxious weeds. So we were asking council to, if we can apply for a grant to the Conservation Service Corps for the grant. It will require a 10% match by the city, but that match will be in kind. It will not be cash. It will be either equipment or labor. And the other thing, we found a way around it. We will not be getting the grant directly. They will pay the Service Corps directly, but we will be the named participant. So Dean is asking for council approval to have the mayor sign off on applying for this grant, and we eliminate some invasive species.
Okay. Any questions from the council down here? Up there? I think it's good to keep ahead of the weeds. Yeah, definitely. Do I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion. I'll move to give permission to Cortez to apply for the 2021 Conservation Service Corps grant and for Mayor Mike Wavy to sign the grant application. Also, the city of Cortez recognizes that it will not receive payment from the Great Outdoors Colorado and hereby authorizes Great Outdoors Colorado to make payment on its behalf directly to the Colorado Youth Corps Association in the event this project is chosen for funding.
Second.
Lucero,
Aye.
Hawkins,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Leahy.
Aye. Thank you. Get closer. Next item is appointment to the library advisory board.
Council, you heard earlier tonight, the interview candidates. Those are the only two candidates we have, but there are two very good candidates who've been on here before, and staff recommends that you appoint both of these applicants to the library board.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the council up there or down here? Okay, can I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like for the council to appoint the two members to the library advisory board being, I'm sorry, Sherry and Karen Sheik.
Second.
Susie Meyer, I'm sorry, and Karen Sheik. It's getting late.
Yazzie? Aye.
Hawkins,
Aye.
Zero,
Aye.
Nina,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Leahy.
Aye, thank you. Susie and Karen, are you still there? Congratulations, both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll pass congratulations on to Karen later. Okay.
Here, thank you, Mike. I just muted myself, so.
Okay, congratulations, Karen.
Thanks.
You're on the board.
Appreciate it.
Sorry about the delay. It's been a long day.
I've been there. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you. There are no draft resolution ordinances, no other items of business. Are there any additional citizen participation? Online, down here?
I see no hands raised.
Okay.
Is there lady, was that for the public?
Yeah. Yeah.
Public comment.
Was that?
Do you have a comment?
Oh, I don't even, it's just the librarians need to lighten up a little bit for people doing.
Go up to the podium.
That's a big, it's no big deal. They just need to lighten up on people doing this. And then that. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Do you want to make it public?
What's it?
Go up to the podium.
That's quite all right. I just wanted to mention that. And I didn't know, they just mentioned library, I can speak on.
Okay.
Mention that, okay?
Okay.
No big deal.
All right. Thank you.
Because I noticed this past 4 hours, everybody takes it off the tree. People here have them off completely, you know, no big deal.
So for the folks on Zoom, a gentleman in the audience was just saying that people have been complaining about, pulling your mask down to talk. And I think it's just a habit of all of us, and that we need to understand we're all trying here.
It's like one person in there is 5 workers. And now they just follow you to see you wearing a mask. It's just getting ridiculous.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Everybody here, they take it off, it's great, you know. But there, I have a feeling that I have been threatened to be kicked out. And I wear a mask 100% of the time. It's just when they see me like this, they're on me like a dictatorship.
I see.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for sharing.
My name's Eric.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. City attorney report on city manager, no reports. Are there any city council reports?
Can we make comments?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I haven't had my board's meetings yet. I have one this week and next week. But I did want to say that in the realm of food security for our community, if any families that are watching are needing any food bags, like if they're in need and they need any food bags, please contact the Montezuma County Public Health Department, or go to the Montezuma County WIC Facebook page, and you can sign up to get on a regular food bag pickup. In addition to that food security piece, there is a gleaning project going on. So what that is if you're not familiar with the term, it's just making sure to like harvesting the fruits from trees that are in your community that maybe maybe wouldn't get picked in a normal season. And so I'm hoping that hopefully after tonight, hopefully we don't get a freeze, and there's still some fruit in our community. If you have any trees on your property that are not getting picked, I would encourage you to look up the Good Food Collective and see if you can register your fruit tree on the Good Food Collective. And what happens is people can go in and volunteer as well. So if you want to be a volunteer, you can volunteer as well. They will come and pick the fruit from you or from your tree, and it will be redistributed within the community. So I just think that I've seen David, can you, yeah, thank you. I've gone on a couple of bike rides and I've noticed fruit trees just like between the road and people's property fences and lawn, and just filled with roots and that are just falling to the ground and just rotting. So if you want to volunteer to pick fruits, or if you want to offer up the fruit from your trees, I encourage you to check out the Good Food Collective Gleaning Project. And that's what I have to say for food security in our community.
Thank you, Arlene. Are there any other committee reports? Any committee reports? Okay.
I'll wait for them, because does anyone on Zoom want to go?
None here.
Okay.
Okay. Can I use this time to comment on the public comments?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I want to clarify about the bridge emergency shelter. I think why they families aren't utilizing the space is when someone gets out of the prison system, they are put back into the community that they were charged in, and Chief Knuckles can clarify that if I'm wrong. But so when they're put back into the community, they're obligated to be given housing. So that's where the bridge emergency shelter comes in. So it ends up taking parolees or people who have maybe sexual offenders violation. So then by default, children can't be in that space. So I think that's why families need other options. And then with the Legion RV camping, so what is the zoning of the Legion's property? Residential, okay. Because what is Walmart's then? Is that what the difference is? Is why Walmart can have RVs overnight? Can we, so there's nothing in our code. Can we not grant some special case? I mean, okay, first, I guess my question is, if they're collecting fees for people to camp there, are we collecting sales tax or lodger's tax on that? So it's just kind of a fundraiser. Okay. And are we allowed to grant like special uses that, are outside of our land use code?
I asked Tracy that specific question. She pulled out the book and said, it says right here, there is no variance for this in this neighborhood. If the Legion stopped doing what they're doing, they could not reopen. Because it's grandfathered now, but if they close and then try to reopen, we wouldn't give them a liquor license because it's in a residential neighborhood.
I see.
So what is the zoning for Walmart? Is it commercial then?
Sure it is.
Then could we not?
Spot zoning if you change the Legions.
What about neighborhood business?
It's outside.
That's a reach.
Okay. I'm just trying to think if it's kind of close to that, but I guess there's a block or two in the line. Okay. I think, I feel like we should still at least continue this conversation because there's gonna be other things that aren't in our land use code. So is it a matter of changing the code or finding some other process?
As you're well aware, we tried to change the code once, and I've said, since we couldn't get past all at once, let's just bring it back one section at a time and change things that need to be changed now. So that direction has been given to Tracy and me.
How long a process would that be then?
For this particular thing, it's gonna be a long process.
Okay.
It requires a whole change in the chapter.
By then, we probably wouldn't even, they wouldn't, hopefully COVID would be a different scene, Okay, and then my last comment, because I don't have any committee reports. Is, I guess, with all the public comments, I think the underlying theme is, people don't like to be pigeonholed into one of their many identities. I think we all are multifaceted people, and we don't like to be categorized and have assumptions about us because of like a category we may associate with. So I think that that's some common ground that both people have is, we tend to make assumptions, a whole range of assumptions on people based on one thing. And I'd also say that, I know there's worry that tensions are getting higher and higher with the election coming up, but, presidents come and go, but we're going to be in this community together, well past the next president or the next few. So we can't let that be, our only identity and let that divide us. So I just ask that if, anyone who's here for public comment still listening, that we remember that we all have many identities that we associate with, and that everyone is going to be different and have different views, and you can't just assume things based on the surface, because that's what we, hate about each other. So I ask that we just respect each other and remember that, we want to be treated, fairly and kindly, and that we treat other people how we want to be treated. That's all I have for tonight.
I agree with what Rachel was saying. I think it was pretty productive meeting with public comments. It seemed like people weren't agreeing on much, but people, each group was expressing their feelings and their interests and what they want from the community, and it seemed to calm down. More different people spoke. I think people realize that we live in Cortez because we love this area, and we can kind of accentuate that positive feeling. I think we can get along, but think about our differences will just separate us. So I think it was good, hearing from all sides. And maybe no one's changed their mind, but I think it's given us all realization of listen to the other group's side, no matter which group you're on. It's good to be exposed to that way of thinking. I think it was good. Okay, I have one item I'd like to invite people to the Veterans Park dedication on Friday, 9/11 at 10 o'clock. There will be dignitaries there, representatives from the various veterans groups. We'll be doing the opening ceremonies. I'm a veteran myself, so I'm very proud that we have this Veterans Park. And I'm honored to be doing the opening ceremonies, and Orly will do the closing ceremonies. And I'm looking forward to that. And it's this Friday, 9/11. I'll quickly go over the workshop. We covered the interviews for the Library Advisory Board and nominated Karen Sheik and Susie Meyer. We discussed on how to proceed on the homeless problems, discussed the cost share for the County Road F to the airport, solar project at the airport, and Ben Burkett gave us a rundown in the monthly finance update. And we did discuss the parades on Main Street. So are there any comments or concerns? If not, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.